The next step of renovating our 1960s kitchen is this pantry area. The goal here is to try to keep it simple, minimal, but also look nice, and it needs to be sturdy. We did not think that we would like this pantry when we first moved because it is so narrow, but it actually is very functional, and so we decided to keep it in the kitchen. The shelves that we took out were kind of sagging in the middle, so we definitely need to try to fix that. Also, we need to fit a couple of different size containers.
Well, I think I want all of the shelves to be as tall as this, maybe about this tall, but the rest of them, could you do this a little bit like this? I at least need like 4 of these shelves. 1, 2, 3, I don't know. And then maybe like a couple shelves this height. So these are like the tallest things that we have. I mean, I have a lot of stuff, but this is the average height. This one's a little tall.
I have still yet to find a single screw in this house. Before we build these pantry shelves, I'm gonna first draw it up in 3D on the computer, and this will help me figure out the dimensions and figure out what I want it to look like before I actually start building it. And then now after I draw it on the computer, I figure out the dimensions. Now let's build. Yeah, we're in the shop today, guys. We're building cabinet. This is my cabinet shop for this whole month. We need to build this pantry for this For this kitchen pantry. We want it to be a little bit nicer than our basement pantry. So this is gonna take a little bit more thought. We're gonna see this pantry every single day and go in and out of it. We're using 3/4 inch hard maple plywood. We're gonna be using my track saw a lot on this project, and also my router. We're going, this is about 16 inches. This is the bottom, gonna be the bottom. And then in between, this is the tallest part. And then every one of them is gonna be at 10 inches. So that way they're all uniformed. A dado is a channel that we're digging into the plywood. So that way the shelf that everything's gonna be sitting on, this is gonna slide through. So instead of relying just on screws alone, you have this little shelf right here, a little step that makes it really stronger. You have to triple and quadruple check your measurements on this. It pretty much has to be perfect. I'm using a Makita plunge router. I've had this for a while. I love the Makita. It's a plunge router because it plunges versus it also could be a regular router. You take this off and you could just use a regular router for edges and stuff. I'm using a 3/4 inch bit, and that's the size of the same plywood I'm using as well, and what the shelves are gonna, how wide the shelves are gonna be. The key is you gotta go slow and steady. And you want to go tight up against this straight edge. We are going about a 1/4 inch deep here. I'm doing a full length because it's easier just to make a straight line, because I really need to, I'm going to rip this down into 3 different sides or pieces at about a foot. And rather doing that first, you could run a straight line like this a lot easier. But it looks like we're gonna get 3 more shelves in here. There's 3 here, 3 more shelves, and then the top. And now we need to make 3 long pieces, strips at about a foot, 12 inches. We're gonna try to use the table saw for that. table saw is a little small, but we could probably manage. The trick is this third person here, my hired help today. This has a roller, the height of the table saw, so that way when I run it on there, this will help me hold it in place. So we got the two pieces here. They all line up. Had to recheck the measurement. They're good. And then this is the third piece. So this is the one side that we just did. And we need to flip this one over and do it another time. But it has to match. That's where it gets a little squirrely. We gotta triple, quadruple check that measurement before we start routing that out. Because this piece is going to go right in the middle center of the shelf. Routing these dados is really the bulk of the cuts. The hard part is really just making it as precise as you possibly can. So that means patience, taking your time. Okay, we're getting close. Now that the vertical pieces are up, we need to make the horizontal pieces, which, you know, it can be a little difficult to rip a long piece of sheet of plywood without a bigger table saw. My table saw is kind of smaller for that. So I'm gonna rip it with my track saw this way. And I need to go about 12 inches. I'm gonna go a little over 12 inches because I feel I can be more accurate with my table saw. Here, the table saw is at 12 already. And so that way they're all uniform, they're all the same. This track saw has some rubber grip behind here, so you don't necessarily, if you have a flat surface and it's not all wobbly, you don't necessarily need to clamp it down. I mean, you could probably be more safer if I did, but since this doesn't have to be super accurate, I'm just gonna let it, because it doesn't slide, and we're pretty good there. And then we're gonna bring it here and finish it off with 12 inches. That track saw, man, is really good. If I had a choice between a table saw and a track saw, I don't know. Track saw is pretty up there. It's a little bit more versatile. You can do a little bit more things with the track saw, I feel. It really kind of depends what you want to cut. But these are all cut. Now we need to cut these basically in half. Not exactly in half, but these are the shelves. We're going to cut these to length on the table saw. I already moved the fence over. And we're basically just gonna rip them down. Boom, boom, boom. All right, this is it, guys. Look at this. This is this whole shelf right here. All the cuts. This is horizontals. This is the verticals. This piece back here is the back. This is the very tedious way of doing a shelf. But in the end, it's gonna come out nice. If I wanted to ship this out, this would be a way to doing it. Have it all in pieces like this, flat pack it, have directions, how to put it together, just like an IKEA shelf. So we're gonna put this shelf together in here. This will be a lot easier to put it in here. So what's Lorraine doing?
I am drying up some herbs. We've got some Tulsi Holy Basil here. I'm taking down the old one and putting up the new one. And I've been drying herbs in our mud room because that's where we have the most space. I also dried some peppers here too, but that was yesterday. So I'm drying up some of this holy basil, and holy basil is really good for you. It's an adaptogenic herb which allows your body to adapt to stress.
Uh-oh, we also got the pork belly out. We're about to cure some bacon because we're gonna have some coney bacon here in a minute, but we need to go through this. I'm using glue and I'm holding it in place with staples because it could get a little squirrely on you. And then doing my best not to get glue on the new floors. The narrow crown stapler helps to pull it in and hold it in place. Also, it goes in so it doesn't stick out because I'm going to put the other wood on this end. Now this is the middle, and this one's a little different because you really can't get in there. I'm going to use my 18 gauge because you can get in the corners better. And it's really just to hold it in place, and you can't even barely tell there's anything there.
So I'm gonna get this side. Okay. Oh, the ceiling.
All right, we're almost done. Moment of truth. Let's put on the backing and then we can pop it in. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see if it fits in there. Shimmy it in there. Yeah, I'd say that's perfect. So far so good. What's next is we need to trim around this because I don't want to leave this exposed plywood, because what could happen, I mean, even though it's hard plywood, it's good plywood. it could still chip out. You know, if we're putting a jar away, it could chip out maybe over time, maybe not right away, but it could happen, and I think it'll just look nicer. Even though I kind of like this joinery that I did, I like that to be noticeable, but I think it'd be best to trim it all out with a hardwood, not plywood. So let's take a look at our barn and see what kind of scrap material that we have that we can use to trim this out. I have some rough cut lumber, but I have a lot of cedar. I'm not so sure if I want to put cedar on there. I'm thinking something more harder type wood. Like this is a huge chunk of cedar. I would love to put some oak. I just don't think I have that. Yeah, I have a ton of cedar. Some pine. I believe this was some chestnut. Which this is what I built our dining table out of. The legs. I would love to use this. It's just that it's super cumbersome. 4x4. Well, I ran it by the wife. And she says, go ahead and do the cedar wood. So now I need to rip down this rough cedar wood. To do the trim, I'm doing pin nailer, 23 gauge pin nailer, where they're little tiny pins with no heads on them, so they're kind of invisible when you plug these in. We're gonna glue and then tack them into the front edges of the plywood. I'll line that up. Altogether, it took me 2 days to think about it and 4 days to build it. The best thing to do is hold it up where you want to cut and then just mark it with the pencil rather than running a tape measure. It's just faster and it can be more accurate. All right, Lorraine, that's it. It's done. Finally, after 6 days.
Yeah. But it was well worth the wait because this is a beautiful pantry. And it's so clean and pretty. I don't want to put my stuff in it. So I set this up because I was laughing this morning and I was like, well, this is how Pinterest says that you should decorate or you should fill your pantry. So this is a Pinterest pantry right here. But unfortunately or fortunately, we are a real working kitchen where we have real food and we have much, much more ingredients than this. So this is not what it's gonna look like. We were just having some fun.
So we still have to put on the trim work on this, plus the doors. I think we're just gonna keep the previous doors. I'm just gonna sand them down, put some new hardware on them, and just leave them. I mean, they work. So now,
That's all our stuff.
all the ingredients.
Yes, and this is, I don't even think this is all of it. Like, I feel like I'm missing some boxes down there in the basement that I have to like sort through. But what I wanted to do was put some of the heavier stuff on the bottom because, like for instance, this half-gallon jar of pinto beans, this is really heavy. So I didn't want to weigh this thing down. So I think I'll put probably like the heavy stuff down at the bottom.
Yeah, so this is about 10 inches here that I made these. And that's about as tall as we wanted it, right?
Yeah, so most of my storage jars are about this height. Well, the tallest ones are this height. Some of them are shorter, but I might continue using these because they're easy to buy. So I might just continue every time I need like a storage container, just getting this size.
I mean, we did sacrifice some room here to make these sturdier. I think previously we had 7 shelves and now we have 6.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like it doesn't look like we lost any space.
Well, we did gain some width here because these were a lot shorter. They probably went in there. I probably gained like maybe an inch.
I feel like it's such a blank canvas. I'm kind of like, I don't know where to put my stuff.
The next step of this kitchen renovation is, it may be a backsplash. We're gonna do some tile work, tile backsplash. We're gonna do open shelving up here, plus recessed lighting. We still have to put the hardware on the cabinets, plus cabinet doors. I gotta build another cabinet here. So how do you decide what you keep up here versus what you keep in the basement?
Oh, okay. So when we purchase our food, we purchase in bulk from Azure Standard. So for instance, like let's say these oats, I will keep just enough up here for me to last like maybe a week, anywhere from like 2 weeks to like 3 weeks. And then downstairs in the basement, we have our 5-gallon food grade buckets. And we'll buy like maybe a 25-pound bag of beans, rice, oats, walnuts we buy in bulk, popcorn we buy in bulk. I mean, pretty much everything you see here we buy in bulk, and we'll put it downstairs in the 5-gallon buckets. And then, so I don't have to go downstairs to refill these. Probably, maybe like, I don't have to go very often. So it's probably like about every 3 weeks or once a month. I'll go downstairs and I'll take my empty jar with me and I'll fill it up. So yeah, so just the heavy bulk stuff is downstairs, and then I'll keep like a smaller thing up here.
Did everything fit?
Everything fits, and I have plenty of space to put my teas, because I wasn't gonna put teas and herbal jars of herbs, dried herbs, but I have this space now. So that's kind of weird how it worked out where I actually have space.
So in the end, it took 2 full sheets of plywood plus some of the other wood I had on hand to trim it out, like the cedar wood I already had. So minimal material. So it was very possible to make a sturdy shelf with minimal material, but it just takes a little bit more thought than putting a bunch of 2x4s together and drilling them in. And this shelf should last forever. And take a good look at it now, because this is the cleanest you're ever gonna see it. Because we do some serious cooking, right, Lorraine?
Yeah.
All right, I thank you guys for watching another kitchen renovation video of ours on this old homestead. Thanks guys, and we'll see you next time.